Hi Year 12, I just wanted to quickly go through a scaffold for your paragraphs that I've asked you to do for human experiences. They are going to be due to me tomorrow. So please make sure you spend some time during today's lesson crafting those paragraphs and having a good go at them, because I really want you to see the importance of doing the practice, getting some feedback on your writing, even though it's quite early in terms of our exploration of the play. These should be a foundation for you to keep building upon and improving and developing as you continue to explore the prescribed text. All right. So as you can see on the screen, I have given you an overview of the task that I want you to focus on. Remember, these are designed as practice, Year 12. They don't need to be perfect at this point. And I'd rather really you understand how important it is to make mistakes in practice, as I've been trying to get you to realize. These are low risk practice tasks. So there's not really any issue. If you do a pretty lousy job of them, that's okay, all right? So I don't want you to get all worked up or trying to make them perfect or trying to craft them so beautifully and brilliantly that the feedback is really not as important as it could be, all right? So keep that in mind. What you're doing for me, as it says there, is discuss Shakespeare's representation of human experiences within The Merchant of Venice. It's a very basic, broad, discussion-based task. It's not specifying, it's not narrowing, it's not trying to be too complicated. It's just giving you the opportunity to start some analytical writing about the play. What I'm asking you to do, as I've already mentioned, is you need to write 2 analytical paragraphs exploring 2 different human experiences represented by Shakespeare within the play, and I want you to implement the causation model within your response, and that's what I want to scaffold for you right now. I've said here, I don't want you to copy or do the same example that I'm showing you now, and I really want to stress this to you guys. I'm very hesitant as a teacher to give you an example like this, because sometimes students feel the tendency to then copy a teacher notes. That's not the purpose of a scaffold, Year 12. And especially at this level, you're going to be stung if indeed you simply reproduce your class notes or your teacher notes. That's not the emphasis here. And again, switch your mentality if that's what you think you need to do. This is simply designed to show you the process and the structure that I want you to try to replicate in your own writing. I don't want you to necessarily write the same ideas or the same examples as I'm giving you in this particular scaffold. All right, so please, again, really understand the purpose of a scaffold and of what I'm trying to teach you. It's not simply to reproduce what I have written. And if you do that, particularly in your upcoming assessment down the track later in the term, then you will be done for plagiarism. And that's not a penalty that you want to face as a HSC student. So the best thing you can do when you're given a sample like this is to learn the process, the pieces, read through it as an example, and then put it aside. Don't feel the need to copy it or to change some words or, to play around with it like that. It's just going to ultimately serve you not in a very positive way. All right. So as I said, this is going to be uploaded to Compass, and I'll quickly jump to your Compass so you can see the task. Maybe if I've got my Compass there it is. And there's obviously our class page under Learning Tasks. Don't worry about all these other tasks because you can't see all those. But right down the bottom, I've just added a formative task for week 6, which is the human experiences paragraphs. You'll go in there, click on your name, and you'll upload your paragraphs there, as we've become familiar with. Alrighty, very quickly, let's go through this scaffold so you have some pieces that I want you to obviously utilize. I'm not going to read through my example here. I'll flick it to you in an email. And again, the purpose of that is ultimately just to show you the type of paragraph that I'm wanting you to experiment with. It's not so that you reproduce my paragraph. That's not what I'm wanting here at all. The first step is obviously the first step in that causation process. You're simply outlining the representation of the human experience that you're choosing to discuss in this particular paragraph. All right. It's simply explaining it. Very basically, you don't need to get too complex or too convoluted. The next step, step 2, is explaining how Shakespeare has crafted an individual character within the play to represent this experience. And what I want you to do in this step, as we talked last week in the tables, is to connect that character with the emotional response early in the play. All right? So no matter what experience you're focusing on, you should have been able to identify a couple of characters that connect to that experience, and then obviously to discuss that emotional response. The next step is the analysis, and this is where you get into the text and you give some good examples of obviously Shakespeare's crafting. So you're analysing the crafting of the character within the play by discussing a responding action. So I want you now to focus upon what happens with this character in the play. You need to make sure, Year 12, that you are supporting this with specific textual examples and analysis of Shakespeare's language. You can't just speak about it generally. And still the tendency for some of you is to be too generalized in your discussion of a text. Make sure you're dropping in those language features, those dramatic elements that Shakespeare's crafting. All right? What you should be able to drop in under this discussion point as well is any associated paradoxes, anomalies, and inconsistencies. Get into the habit of dropping that kind of element from the rubric into your writing, and that again shows some greater sophistication and an elevation of your discussion of the text. Step 4, moving into some of the consequences, which again is the step 4 in that causation process that we were working through in class last week, and any insights into the context or the society that this representation of the character and experience is demonstrating for you. All right. So again, it's sort of shifting into the back end of the play where Shakespeare kind of culminates some of this experience through the character. And the final step, really important in this process, is discussing your overall understanding of the human experience through the crafting by Shakespeare. And what I want you to, again, try to get embedded within your discussion here is understanding of the values that are demonstrated by the character, by Shakespeare, whether that's determination or resilience or passion or strength. Start to drop those into, again, your discussion because it shows a more holistic understanding of human experiences. When you have a look at this email from me, all right, you'll see that I've demonstrated each of those pieces, and you will notice Year 12. All right, I've tried to keep this as straightforward as I can using the table that I scaffolded for you in class last week on discrimination, focusing on Shylock. But really importantly, I've broken this discussion into 2 paragraphs. All right, even though I'm saying it's 1 paragraph of writing, I've broken it into 2 because I've tried to give you all of those pieces in some detail here in this example, okay? So you will see me break the paragraph. I really want you to be conscious of how long your paragraphs are getting, even how long sometimes the sentences are. Now, I tend to be quite wordy in my discussion. I'm trying to get a lot of information in to demonstrate to you some good examples of the text. You don't need to be that lengthy, all right? So don't try to be too complex. Don't try to be too wordy unnecessarily, unless that's what you're actually trying to convey and trying to connect in terms of your discussion. All right. So you'll see when I send you these, I'll email them to you. I've got 2 paragraphs here on Shylock and the representation of discrimination. So it breaks here, even though it's sort of a continuation of the same discussion. In an essay, Year 12, I don't want a page-long paragraph. I don't want the paragraph to go on and on and on and on in an exam booklet because a marker's going to say, that's a really poor structure, and that's going to sting me in my writing. So be happy and be willing to use some common sense in your paragraphs. Even if you're continuing your arguments, then you're quite entitled to break those into smaller chunks. Okay, so just keep that in mind. I do know that a lot of students try to jam a lot of information into 1 paragraph, which I kind of get, but it's not really effective in terms of structure. So I'll send that through to you, all right? Again, please understand, you don't need to get to the same length as I've done in this example. I'm not looking for the same depth of discussion. I've obviously got further understanding of the text than you do perhaps at this point in time. I've studied this text, I've taught this text, so I'm more familiar with it. What I'm wanting you to do is to practice, to start writing about the play, to start exploring the human experiences, and that's the task here, Year 12. All right, so really important this lesson. Finish off reading through those notes on language that we were doing yesterday. I know you're at home online, but make sure you've done those notes and then get into your paragraphs. All right, get into writing up some good examples of how Shakespeare is exploring and representing these human experiences to us as responders of his play. Okay, please email me, please send me through any questions you have. Even if you're writing or typing up a paragraph and you get a bit stuck, I'm more than happy, Year 12, for you to flick something to me and say, Mrs. Reed, is what I'm doing okay? Does it make sense? Am I on the right track? Or I've hit a roadblock and I don't really know where I'm taking this next. Then I would rather you do that than sit on it and not submit something. Okay, so please make sure you reach out via email. Let me know if you've got any questions or anything that you need clarified. More than happy to help you, Year 12. Okay, I will see you back in class in person tomorrow, and looking forward to seeing you back in that normal classroom setting. All right, take care. Good on you guys.